The bubonic plague occurred from 1346 to 1356 in Western Europe and was deemed to be one of the most fatal plagues in human history. The bubonic plague, also labeled the Black Death, killed millions of people through its infection. It brought upon multiple deadly symptoms, and it mostly stopped through improved hygiene and contact prevention.
Black Plague, or Black Death, got its name from the lymph nodes that would turn black because of infection. They were a commonly seen symptom of this plague.
As for the cause of the Black Plague, there were many theories, but one of the most famous ones involved infected fleas.
It was believed that fleas that were infected by the Black Plague traveled on mice or rats who traveled by boat, and others just simply believed it was a punishment from God.
The Roman Catholic Church, a powerful force throughout medieval Europe, urged people to save themselves by praying and confessing. But God is deaf nowadays, and prayers have no power, wrote English author William Langland in his epic poem, Piers Plowman, and boldly brought down with many keen swords and slew much people.
This poem is talking about how God is no longer listening, so prayers don't work, and in a way is describing the symptoms of the disease, and there are many people dying. The Black Death is a plague that brought people pain and suffering through its deadly symptoms, which included fevers, headaches, chills, your body to feel weak, swollen skin, and painful lymph nodes that dye and cause your skin to go black.
During the Black Plague, there were doctors named plague doctors who wore strange crow-like masks, leather hats, gloves, boots, and linen robes that covered them head to toe, so they would be safe from airborne diseases. They carried around sticks used to carefully remove a patient's clothing.
The long beak-like part of the mask was filled with different herbs and compounds like cinnamon, pepper, turpentine, roast copper, and powdered viper flesh. It was thought that this recipe would ward off poisonous air known as miasma. Most people died within 2 to 7 days after being infected. The plague doctors who took care of infected patients tried many things to attempt to cure. The doctors attempted things like potions, fumigations, flight from infected areas, and more. But the most famous attempt to cure was to use a method called bloodletting. Bloodletting was to use a Herodo leech to supposedly drain out the bad blood. The only way the Black Death subsided was when people took measures like improving sanitation, personal hygiene, better medical practices, and quarantine, which is still an effective method used in modern plagues. These days, there are antibiotics that are used to help cure the Black Plague since there are still some cases of infection.
Officials in Oregon confirming the first case of plague in the state since 2015. They say that person was likely infected by their symptomatic pet cat. Dr. Alexis Bardzinski with Austin Pets Alive says plague is more likely to be seen in the southwestern states.
China are on alert following a case of bubonic plague in the country's northwest. The disease caused by a bacterial infection was behind one of the world's deadliest epidemics in the 14th century. The Black Death killed about 50 million people worldwide. Patrick Falk has more from Beijing.
Reports say the victim was a herdsman in Bayanluo City in the Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region, northwest of Beijing, and he'd apparently been taken to hospital on Saturday, and then on Sunday, authorities issued a level 3 alert, which is the second lowest on a 4-tier system, and it basically means people have to take precautions. They have to tell authorities if there are suspected cases, and they're not to hunt for or eat wild animals. This is a disease which is closely linked with wild animals. animals. And in fact, there was another case reported by the Global Times on Twitter today, saying that there was a 15-year-old who had also contracted bubonic plague. The marmot is a sort of large squirrel, and that has been linked to cases of bubonic plague in China and Mongolia. In fact, there was a case not too long ago involving a couple that had eaten the kidneys of a marmot and contracted the disease.
The Black Plague thus killed millions, bringing forth deadly symptoms and unforgivable, fearful, bloody years. New plagues that arise and are more or less deadly than the bubonic plague are dealt with methods that were used back in Western Europe. The purpose of learning about this plague is to learn the most effective ways to deal with plagues today and to make sure nothing as deadly and terrifying as the Black Death surfaces again.